And we have to talk a little bit about the situation and whether the level of government intervention was appropriate or not. First, I have to declare myself as a free market Republican, so the next words are going to be very painful. If you look at the level of intervention that was required overall for the financial system, the economy, and the automobile industry, it was such a catastrophic moment that only the government had the scale and the power to save the day. That's painful to say. I may be a Democrat before this is all over, but that's the truth of the matter. So coming to the automobile industry, the question had to be, is it worth saving or not? Those were the stakes. It was more than saving General Motors. It was more than saving Chrysler. As you see here in North America, the automobile is the most complex thing to manufacture in the world. There's nothing comparable to it as far as the complexity to make it happen. This whole system in North America, between Mexico, the United States, and Canada, produces in a normal times over 16 million units. And the investment in innovation and development that comes from the automobile industry is amazing. And for every job that exists at an OEM, another 10 jobs exist at suppliers, and another 7 jobs support the suppliers. It's millions upon millions of jobs. And we all know, and I agree with Wayne, it's all about entrepreneurialism and the little guy, but in the automobile business, there's millions of little guys who are feeding the big manufacturers, and they all would have been swept away. If General Motors and Chrysler had been allowed to precipitously go into bankruptcy and go out of business, it would have shut down the entire supplier system in the United States. There would not have been a single vehicle built by any manufacturer anywhere in North America. That includes Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Toyota, Honda. The entire system would have shut down. And there's really the possibility that that would have cascaded through the rest of the supplier system in the world, and automobile production in the entire world would have come to a standstill. And we certainly would have had a Great Depression, which would have had consequences for at least a decade, for maybe further. And whether the automobile production in the United States ever would have been revived again or not was in question. These were the stakes that were hanging in balance. And we had the U.S. government look at this situation, and they had 2 choices. Build a bridge through the crisis and have the same industry on the other side, or take advantage of the dramatic situation and fundamentally address some of the structural issues that existed within the automobile business. And the biggest thing that had to be addressed, which I and Fritz and I have often talked about, I've been a critic of for 7, 8 years, is what I call the production push model, which is a bankrupt business model which the domestic industry was living on for the last 40 years. Namely, your fixed costs are so high, your development costs are fixed, your install capacity is fixed, you turn labor into a fixed cost, your legacy costs are fixed, meaning whenever you look at a fork in the road, you always overproduce, stuff it in the channel, force it into the marketplace, oversupply the marketplace, and then use incentives to liquidate what you've pushed in the marketplace, which erodes resale value, which erodes brands, which erodes share, which makes you smaller, and you have to repeat the whole thing over again. So the Auto Task Force looked at this and talked to General Motors and to Chrysler and said, we're going to fundamentally break the production push model. Imagine GM's break-even point at that time was 16 million units a year. So a new business model was created during this traumatic period. Legacy costs, labor agreements, Fritz can say it better, all these issues that have been sitting there for a decade were finally addressed. Too many dealers. It was very painful, very disruptive. But the fact of the matter is that the old model was destroyed and a new model called PULL has been put in place where profitability, rationality, viability, and sustainability are now all possible in our industry, and that was not there before. So here we are. 2009 will prove to be the absolute bottom. Things will gradually get better. We're forecasting an improvement in sales next year to 11,500,000. And that's a 10% improvement, and we're very excited about 10% improvement. But I have to tell you, that's still depression-level sales. You know, you would say, well, what's normal? Well, think about it this way. Every year in the United States, 13 to 14 million units go to the scrapyard and go off the roads and need to be replaced. The U.S. economy is still a growing economy. We have 1 million to 1.5 million new households formed every year. The industry should sell 15, 16 million units year in, year out, and put a cycle in there. So there's no question 11 million is still very tough, still depressionary conditions. The difference is, though, at 11 million, the industry is going to be very profitable and viable because of the massive restructuring that occurred within our industry between the Auto Task Force and the companies involved. So, posed to going forward, I've never been more optimistic about the industry. I'm a worrier, as everybody knows. I've worried for the last 8 years about this day of reckoning and what it would mean for the American economy, for the automobile industry, and for our company that Wayne founded and I care for, AutoNation. The fact of the matter is the day of reckoning was much more dramatic than we ever thought, much more traumatic, but we're through it on the other side. And going forward, I have a very positive outlook. We're going to be looking at 5, 6, 7 years of growth before somebody does something stupid again, and hopefully whatever happens next time is not nearly as big as what happened the last time. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to my friend Fritz Henderson, who has worked all over the world for General Motors. He's a realist. Fritz and I get along well because we're straightforward, realists. They get to the point quick without a lot of niceties and then decide what to do, and then everybody else has to deal with what happens from that. But he's a great executive, and he's going to lead General Motors into a great new future. Fritz.
Thanks, Mike, for being here. Appreciate it.